What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here on Pig City Hockey. I cannot believe it's been over a week since my last video. I had a couple concerts there last week and just completely lost track of time, and it's crazy that it's been over a week since I've talked about the Jets because a lot's happened, and it's been a very interesting few games of Jets hockey, to say the least. The Jets are on a 3-game losing streak. The trade deadline is on Friday, and all eyes are on Winnipeg because the top team in the NHL this year on a 3-game skid going into the trade deadline. That screams looking for a big trade, or looking for the big move, or all eyes on that team because why wouldn't there be? The Jets have been a top dog all year long, and to have a 3-game skid going into the trade deadline, especially a 3-game skid where you haven't played poorly. These 3 games, can't stress this enough, honestly. They weren't bad games at all. Like, the Jets are still a very good team, by any means, and they're not playing poor hockey. They haven't collapsed as a team. They haven't lost their identity by any means whatsoever. What we're seeing are 3 losses in a row that were all 1-goal games. One of them that was a shootout loss. When you look at that in the grand scheme of things, I just don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think what we're seeing is the Jets' weaknesses come to light, the weaknesses that we've already seen throughout the year at times, come into play over a 3-game stretch. And ironically, it's right before the trade deadline where you have a chance to go in and fix this, especially we saw this in the Islanders game. I felt like even though it was a close game, I felt like, the Jets just looked sloppy. And also without Sandberg, Pionk really struggled at times, and I think that Stanley as well struggled in this game and just was making goofy plays. And, that's obviously Stanley's characteristics. But I think what we're seeing right now more than anything when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets in terms of this losing streak is, a little bit of what's already been there all along. We know these issues are going to be there. This core's been together for a while now, and just because they're playing a different branded version of their hockey doesn't mean that they're still not going to have their own, flaws every once in a while. And, we're seeing the lack of 5-on-5 scoring. We're seeing when the power play isn't going that the goals can be harder to come by. We're seeing some defensive, holes in the pairings. We're seeing more of that, and I think that these teams are playing with desperation. They're fighting for points. It's getting that time of the year where every game matters for some teams, and I feel like Winnipeg is just, their weaknesses are being exploited, and I think that falls on the coaching staff a little bit as well for not, adapting the lines as much on this losing streak. I think it would have been a good opportunity to see what you got going into the deadline as well and kind of shuffle things up chemistry-wise, but, they're still in these games. It's not like they're playing terrible. Like I said, they're losing 1-goal hockey games. But I think what this really does more than anything is puts a lot of, emphasis on Chevy making a move. If there was ever a time to go all in, it's now, because we know that this team is legit. We've seen it all year long, and what we're seeing right now are the issues that have been there, with the success. And teams are always going to have weaknesses. Every team has weaknesses, and the Jets, have had these 5-on-5 lack of scoring at times, even though they've also had really good 5-on-5 stretches of scoring. The power play has been fantastic, and that's helped carry games. So now when the power play goes, over 17 up until today, that's a huge loss, and that's another reason why you were losing hockey games or going to, to 2 shootouts in 3 games or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. Things are starting to, get closer, and it just seems like the Jets were, when the power play wasn't cooking, the 5-on-5 goals weren't there enough. And I think defensively as well, that the Jets need that help. They need that, top 4 guy to come in. They really need that to help shore things up, to push Stanley out of the lineup, to really help stabilize things, to help the top 4 be more stabilized, to take pressure off Josh Morrissey so he doesn't have to be absolutely everywhere at all times. Obviously, Jomo's going to do his thing out there. That's not going to change, but you need to bring in support to help keep him fresher for longer periods of the game, because he sometimes, at the end of the game, in these close situations, he's absolutely gassed out there. You can tell it. He's giving it his all. He's playing amazing hockey still, but I would rather prefer to have Josh Morrissey a bit more rested in those situations, because he's had more help. And Neil Pionk at times, obviously offensively, has been great, but without Sandberg in the lineup, we're seeing that. So a stable defenseman, I think, at the trade deadline on the back end would be huge for this team. And then obviously secondary scoring for the top 6, maybe if you wanted to make a move as well for the bottom 6, maybe if you want to push out a Kapari. I know he's played well overall, but if you want to, we need more offense coming into the playoffs, and we're seeing that now. We're seeing a lack of depth 5-on-5 scoring as well. You need to bring in that, just sharper goal scorer, I would say. Last year they brought in Tyler Toffoli to help shore things up, and that didn't work. But I want to see a move that's in that area again, you know, like obviously a better Toffoli, but something that'll actually like make a difference, you know, like really go out there and add to this team again. Like I think that's what the Jets are going to be doing. I think that's what Chevy's going to be doing. And I think that, honestly, why wouldn't you? This team's proven that they're the real deal all year long. And like I said, all this losing streak has done is shown Chevy where to focus as a buying asset going into the deadline. I think if anything, you know, this is kind of the best time to have that losing streak with a guy like Rantanen available potentially, you know, which I know the odds are against us, but even then, that's a huge piece that could potentially still be available. You know, even a Brock Nelson, he was great tonight in that loss we just had in that game against the Islanders the other night. You know, I'm still high on Jared McCann and a Jamie Alexiak trade. I think that would be good. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we could get even another defenseman. Something like that would be really beneficial to this team. Anything that pushes Stanley out is going to be good for this club overall. You know, I think that this isn't even about, oh, let's pile up on Stanley. It's about just making this team better. Stanley serves better as a extra defenseman, and that's just fact, you know. Adding to this team defensively, we've seen it in tonight's matchup. When Sandberg's out, and when Sandberg has been out this season, this team lacks defensively, and they need that reliability. And they don't have that when Sandberg's out of the lineup, and coming into the playoffs, and what we've seen in years past already in the playoffs, I would really like to see the Jets focus on the blue line this deadline, and really try to add that, you know, reliability to help really cement things back there. Because right now the Jets still have a lot of holes in the back end, and I think coming into the playoffs they could really be exposed in that front. But at the same time, you know, an extra, you know, a second line center would be huge, and then any type of depth scoring option is something that I think that they should be focusing on. It seems like obviously there's a chance, like I think Chevy, honestly, my gut tells me that this is the year where you see the Jets make a few big trades. Like obviously last year you get Monahan, you get Toffoli on the deadline, you get Colin Miller as well. Those are three pretty hefty trades. You know, you didn't give up that much. You gave up a lot, honestly, for when you went to bring in those three players. And I think I expect to see the Jets make even bigger moves than what we saw last year. I really would believe that. And I think that if Chevy really does believe the right guy is available, and even if it's a premium price, if it really is the guy that can take this team to the next level, I think this is the year that makes the most sense in franchise history to go in all in on that player. You know, to spend a couple draft picks if necessary, to give up the top prospect. You know, this team is elite. We've seen it, and if you have a chance to make them even better and fix these holes and really get this team pumped and give them a real fighting chance to go all the way, I think that you do it. I think you have to do it. I think that this is the best year the Jets have had, arguably ever. I think that, you know, obviously 2017-18 was magical and they had a fantastic team, but when you look at those two teams and you look at what the Jets are doing this year and you look at what the goal scoring and, you know, when they've been hot, the goaltending, and we can't understate how good Connor Hellebuck has been. Anything is possible. So I think Kevin Cheveldayoff, go all in, make that trade, because this losing streak has not shown that this team is a bad team that, you know, doesn't have a chance at winning. This isn't like years past. This is a team that is just showing their holes, playing tough matchups that could use the help. So I think the Jets should go out there and spend absolutely everything. I think add to this team, go all in. I still believe, and I think that you should too. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about this. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you believe just as much as me? Let me know down in the comment section below. As always, follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Check out all the affiliate links down in the description below. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Go Jets, go. And I will see you all in the next one very, very soon.
It'll all be over. It'll all be over.